Avi, welcome to the podcast. And I'm so glad and excited to have you here today. For those who do not know you, would you like to give a quick introduction about yourself? What you have been doing so far before you got into Amazon? Where are you based out of? What do you do? Your hobbies? And then we can jump right into your Amazon journey.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to be part of this, very successful podcast. And I'll give a quick intro. So, my name is Xavier. I'm originally from Mexico, but I live pretty much everywhere. I'm all over the place. So, I live sometimes part of the year in Houston, then I live part of the year in Seattle, and the other part of the year in Mexico City. So, I travel a lot to, visit friends and family and also for business purposes. And well, my hobbies, I love soccer, love sports, love investing. That's one of pretty much one of my hobbies right there. Playing with in the crypto space, building algorithms, sort of a geek right there. So I can balance out sports and the geekness of
Yeah.
algorithms and
I guess it is the geekiness that both of us have on being, so heavy on data and numbers and playing, hey, what will happen if I tweak this and feed this to the software that kind of corrected us in the first place? So amazing, man. I'm so glad you're here. So, Javi, can you share how you got into Amazon in the first place? Like, I know everybody wants to live this dream life of being a digital nomad. You're, spending time in Seattle, spending time in Houston, spending time in Mexico City. It's like summers, let's go to Seattle. Oh, it's wintertime, let's go to Mexico City. Oh, it's this festival, let's go there, right? So, how are you like got into all of this that resulted into you being able to afford this current lifestyle that you have?
absolutely. So it hasn't been an easy journey. It never is usually. So yeah, we're not here to tell lies, right? It's been a difficult, challenging journey, but a beautiful one for sure. And I originally started out a company when I was in college. It was a food company down here in Mexico. We were selling to all the retail stores and we were doing pretty well. But one day, I met a guy. He was like a dropout from MIT and he was a friend's boyfriend. And he actually was a genius. Like he dropped out of college, launched a very successful business, not necessarily e-commerce, but he did really well. And suddenly it hit me that I needed to be, in a stronger space, that I had more potential that I was doing back then. And just the FOMO started to kick in. Like I want to be, a really big, you know, tech company and do good for other people. So I had heard of the Amazon space and the e-commerce space, and I had wanted to be in the space for a long time, but just the path wasn't there yet.
Mm.
And one day I just decided I was gonna sell my company and
Okay.
I was gonna get started. And the first step was getting over the steep learning curve that this business has, right? That
Yep.
was like the main thing. And pretty much I started consuming all of the content available everywhere, buying all of the courses as we all do.
Basically, going after every YouTube video, and once you have exhausted that, pulling out your credit card, swiping it for every, whether it is the
Yep.
amazing machine or someone else, right? Kevin King, so many experts are out there sharing their knowledge and kind of learning from the masters. So tell me of this. So you said you sold your business. So how much time did it take you to come to a decision that, hey, I need to now pivot from whatever existing business I'm doing and start my, hand or luck at e-commerce? Like, was it an overnight decision? Did you mull over it for a week, a month? Like, what was that decision like for you?
So it was pretty interesting because it was a feeling at the very start, at the very beginning. It
Uh-huh.
was a very, very, very strong consuming feeling that
Yes.
this is what I needed to do. You never think about it.
It
It's
just
like
hits you like a brick, right? It just gets you.
yeah, my blood started boiling and I was like, dude, I need to be here for some reason. And what I did is I thought about it after that day that I met this guy. And I was thinking, and then suddenly I was like, I don't need to think it. Like I feel it. And every time my gut tells me something this strong, I can't go wrong, you know? So I started planning it out. Within a week, I had everything planned out, what I was gonna do, who I was gonna sell it to, etc. Because I had gotten offers in the past. And my main thing was I'm not gonna tell anybody what I'm doing.
Okay.
Nobody's That was very interesting because I was risking everything again, starting from scratch.
Uh-huh.
I was basically selling something that was really doing really good. And I was risking everything and jumping into into the abyss in a way, right? So I said, I'm not going to tell anybody about this because this is a very, very personal decision. I don't want anybody to interfere with what I'm feeling, with what I'm thinking. I know I'm right. So I don't want any discouragement whatsoever. And I don't
Mhm.
want anybody to change my mind because I know this is true. So I held it a secret for almost 4 months from everybody.
Wow.
Yep. And I basically sold the company. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't brag money, nothing. Like it was like a normal day every single day, you know? And people just asked me, well, my family were asking me like, why are you spending so much time in the computer and in the office? And I'm like, oh, this is like, peak season. I need to get ready and whatever, right?
Right.
And of course, I don't love lying, but this was very personal. And this felt like it was something that I needed to do. So I started studying and I found a community, a mastermind group back in the day. And I think it was the Helium 10 group back in the day. And then within my research, I found the Titan Network. And then finally, I arrived to the Brandon Young's inner circle, right?
Yep.
and, and then I started consuming everything. I was studying the business probably 6 hours per day, just
Wow.
going at it. And the most important thing I think was trying to build a framework because there's so much information out there. And anybody who's starting is going to get so discouraged because they're going to see everybody talking about
It's
different things.
like drinking from a fire hose, right? But
Yeah.
one thing which I really liked about you, Javi, and I've spoken to so many different successful entrepreneurs. Those of us who do not know me personally, I built my career in technology and I was doing AI 15 years before anybody knew about ChatGPT. It's so common to see, golden millionaires and billionaires in this line of work. But one thing which is common, and that caught my eye when you said that you kept your decision to yourself. You did not want external influence. And this is one common thread I've seen in every successful person. Those who are really successful are not posting it on Instagram. They are not talking on TikTok about it. They're not, creating viral content on YouTube about it. It is typically once you have become successful and you have achieved your goals, you hit a point where you feel it's now your obligation to share it with the world. Like how Alex Hormozy does it. He built his $200 million company first, and after that, he created his YouTube channel, sharing stuff, right? So, same with you, and kudos to you. Like, it is so difficult to hide that, hey, I've made a successful exit, I've made my money in my 20s, and, I'm now going to start a new business. Everyone would be posting about it on Instagram. And then when they are struggling, they will take decisions because they're under social pressure. And you made a master move by not disclosing your, intentions or goals or aspirations to the world prematurely. You wanted to cook it, you wanted to create something solid and then announce it to the world that this is what I'm up to. So I really applaud you for what you have done on that part. It is very difficult emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very difficult to keep it to yourself. But, whenever you're doing something for yourself, it's just powerful. Like, it doesn't require you to show it to anybody else.
Yes.
Doing it for yourself. And, one thing I learned along the way is that same thing I did for myself, I can do it for others as well.
Yeah.
You know? But first I gotta do it for myself. How am I gonna help others if I can't help myself?
It's like how they
So
tell you on the aircraft, right? Put the mask on yourself before helping others. So
exactly.
learn the ropes.
Exactly.
So, Javi, since you were doing business already, which you sold, so you know how to run, build, operate a business, and exit that business. And then you move to e commerce. What kind of similarities and differences you saw? Like, was it too easy for you to get into the e-commerce world, or do you think that even if you would have been working in a 9 to 5 job, it would have been equally difficult versus, coming in from a business into e-commerce?
Well, there were a lot of similarities, but funnily enough, it's a little bit of like destiny sort of stuff because the business I was in before involved manufacturing. And the person that was, that taught me about manufacturing, he invited me to his factory. He taught me everything he knew. We even did this crazy stuff like, you know, to to understand if the box is gonna be strong enough, he would make me step on the box in a certain way and test
Wow.
it, like it, yeah, it would be funny.
That's
And then
the fancy that we do with our China factories, right? So,
yeah, yeah, exactly. It was awesome. Like I spent hours in the lab because it was a food company. So I was developing the formulas and then I was seeing it, come to life in the big machines. And then I had to plan, production and, plan my inventory and distribution. I was at the very beginning, like I was carrying the boxes to the retail stores. Like I was so buffed because I was
yep.
carrying the
Yes.
boxes. And then at the end of the business, I was like, I'm not carrying a single box anymore in my life. Like, there's no way I'm gonna do this again. So
Can
that
I
prepared me a lot.
can I
Yeah.
share a secret with you, Javi? Like, until my business hit $700,000 in revenue, I was storing inventory in my garage and I was packing the pallets myself. And it is such a painful thing to, prepare a pallet. Like, we people don't realize in general what kind of labor and hard work goes into running an e-commerce business or, managing inventory. Of course, once we had enough cash flow, it was easy, right? We had into 3PLs and all those things. But back in the day, like before COVID, there were not many 3PLs or, everything was reserved for kind of big retail stores. And for small players like you and I, it was very difficult to get into a lease and contract and have like commercial space available to store, a bunch of products which you're not even sure whether they will sell or whether they will doom. Like you're trying to save and pinch every penny. So, what were some of the difficult or tough moments that you faced? Like, what will be the most difficult situation that you faced after you started off and, kind of jumped over the inertia of, hey, I now have an Amazon business. So, you identified a product, you bought it, you have it in your hands. Like, what happened after that?
So the first part of the challenge was when I exited, I had, enough money to start something, but it was pretty tough to understand how much money I needed. And I did my research and, I didn't overestimate or underestimate. It was perfect, but I still had to raise some money.
Yep.
And a friend of mine, lent me a $40,000. She lent me, so it was a lot of money back then, right? And basically, I started with a friend, and we were doing really good. And then it was very, very, very tough understanding the Amazon business at first. And I think that's where the biggest challenge came in because we started seeing negative numbers, because we didn't understand the cycle of the
Yeah.
advertising and.
Yes.
And back in the day, Scale Insights wasn't around and all of the softwares that we know right now. So you had to do it manually. And it was so painful to actually do this and not understand how to pull the right levers at the time.
Huh.
So my business partner was freaking out all the time. And it was really tough dealing with the situation and dealing with a person that was freaking out, right? So I think that was a very tough moment. And then the next year, like for a whole year,
Mm.
once we got a grasp of the business, I had a contract with my friend where she told me she was gonna lend me the money for a year, and then she came 9 months into the year and she said like I need all my money back, and I'm like, come on, like okay, we can't do this right now, like, and she's like, I need to buy an apartment, and I need my
Again,
money, right?
yep.
And how was I gonna get $40,000 in a month? Right? It was crazy. Like either I was gonna take it from the business, right? Or I don't know what I was gonna do, right? So the first thing I did, was, get a loan and pay up 50% of that to her. And then it was beautiful because all of my networking throughout the year and helping others led me to giving some consulting. I did for a full month a lot of consulting calls with a lot of big sellers,
Uh-huh.
and I managed to get the money and pay her in time.
Wow.
So yeah, it was crazy. Like
Very tough.
every time, yeah, every time you feel like you're against the wall,
Yep.
if you're doing the right thing, you'll get the help you need.
Yes.
That's my philosophy.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a pretty tough month, a lot of work, a lot of consulting, negotiating the consultations with people that were bigger than me in terms of, company revenue, age. I was dealing with people twice my age
Yes.
sometimes. Like, it was pretty tough, and I had to be very confident in my ability, in what I knew from the business, and how much time I put into learning,
Mhm.
that I was going to be able to provide value to them, in a certain way. And that proved to be the biggest learning of all. And I was really trying to help them. I wasn't going after the money. The money follows when you're doing this.
Yes.
So I was trying to help them, and the consultations just kept coming. The consulting calls just kept coming for because of
So
recommendations, right? So
essentially, your advice to others who are, building their Amazon businesses is that in the first few years, things can move in multiple directions and always have a secondary source of income, whether it is your 9 to 5 job, whether it is some other business or some consulting, because you never know, right, what will happen in a business, right?
yeah, you better know what you're doing when you jump into a business like this,
Yes.
because if you don't have a second source of income, you'll find out that the business is sucking in cash
Yes.
instead of giving you cash at the very beginning,
And I
right?
think
And
businesses, especially a lot of Amazon sellers, they pack up because they do not understand their cash cycle, right? I recently met someone. This guy is doing couple of $1 million a month in manufacturing. And he wanted to get into Amazon because he felt that, hey, I no longer have to worry about, dealing with humans and these influencers that buy products from him and sell them under their own brand. And when we peeled the onion in 30 minutes, we realized, like, he realized that he has a much better life doing manufacturing business than to become like a factory direct to customer model because of the cash flows and cycles that are built into that. Right? People don't realize that if I was to sell something today, I need to buy that thing of months in advance. It will take about a month for it to get manufactured, and then depending on where you're manufacturing, anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months to get it delivered and make it sellable in Amazon. Like, even if
exactly,
things are delivered to an Amazon warehouse, they don't become readily available for sale. Amazon takes its own sweet time, but your bank doesn't care. They want their money back. Your EMIs are waiting. You have to make your payments. So businesses struggle, and this is, you know, one struggle that I've seen more common than anything else: cash flow.
absolutely. Dealing
So
with the
in
cash
your in your first year, Harvey, like, how much money did you put into the business? You took like 40,000 loan and you had some of your own money. So how much of actual cash did you put in the first 12 months? And how much of it were you able to pull out of business without the consulting and other things that you were doing? Just to set a
Yeah,
realistic
absolutely.
expectation.
So of the 40,000 that I took from my friend, I put all of it into the business. And me personally, I put 20,000 into the business,
Yeah.
right? We started with $60,000. My friend put a little bit more. He didn't have it at the time, but he was, a really good manager. So I understood that if I had the entrepreneurial sort of style of
Uh-huh.
running a company, it was going to be a good complement to that. So
Right.
he didn't put money at the very start. So we started with 60,000. And at the very end of the year, I think we pulled out like 20,000. Like, it was, it was tough the first year because you're learning. Like, you gotta understand that it's gonna take you a long time to understand the Amazon business, the cash conversion cycle, and everything around the business.
Yes,
It's gonna take you time. That's it.
it does. Like,
That's the way I
I,
could put it. So don't expect to get rich out of this business unless you are the manufacturer and you have a healing viral product. I think that's the only way you become rich
Well,
in a year, right? But
let's, on the record, if you cannot afford to pay $5,000 to your factory to make a mold, I don't expect you to be a manufacturer and invest like $20 million and hundreds of employees into manufacturing for a factory,
also,
right? So 99.9% of us are somewhere, we have some savings and we want to start business, and it really cringes me to my bones that when someone on YouTube will say, "Oh, you know what? You can start an Amazon business for $5,000. Buy my course for 4,000 and inventory for 1,000, and you're all set." Like, it doesn't work that way. I
no.
had to personally postpone buying my house and invest close to $400,000 before I saw real money come out of it. So it is tough. It is tough. So what happened after the first year? Like, what was your breakthrough or, mindset shift, strategy shift that you did in the first 12 months or 24 months of the business that kind of changed the trajectory from you investing in 60,000 and pulling out 20,000 to something where businesses is now generating enough cash flow for you to pull out or reinvest back into the business?
So the first thing that I did is build my own framework,
Yep.
right? Everything that I had learned about the business, I started putting it into a framework,
Okay.
and this is something that seven-figure sellers don't know, and it surprises me, but you always need to have a framework that you can use to build upon,
Yep.
right? That's the key to it. Everything new that comes in the space or everything new that you learn along your way, you need to add to that framework, but you never start again, right? You always build upon something. So once I found out what worked for me, and I had, my strategies and my management strategies as well, it started getting easier.
Okay.
And the key aspect of this is you need to understand what are the growth levers of the business, and you need to understand everything about it,
Yeah.
because ignorance is what fights fear in people. And if you get rid of ignorance and you understand what you're doing, what levers to pull and what to do, you open yourself to a whole new realm of possibilities,
True.
right? And that's when you get in control.
True. Just so spot on, Javi. Like, I see so many of our clients for my agency and accelerator, they have no clue of how they become successful. And it is all right, you don't know why you failed, but it is absolutely unacceptable if you do not know why you are successful. Like, the only job of an entrepreneur is to figure out why am I successful and then do more of that, whatever that is.
Exactly.
It can be
Hmm.
designing a graphic or it can be putting a business strategy. It does not matter. Whatever is that thing that makes you successful, do more of it. Spend more time, energy, resources on that thing. And it amazes me. I've had clients who reach to like 2.5, $3 million a year kind of revenue, and they're like struggling to grow at 10% year on year. And I asked them, like, you started this company 3 years ago from zero. What were you doing between $0 to $2 million? And they do not have an answer for it. I'm like, can you just sit, reflect? Like, I understand you do not have the data and all of it. Can you just reflect on your days? What were your days like when you went from that 0 to 2 million journey? And it's amazing when, people understand the importance of framework and start applying and implementing it in their business. Like, people are so hung on SOPs and procedures and processes. They do not understand that SOPs and processes and all are like a small part of the overall framework. If your framework is right, you will have a framework in place to have your SOPs. You will then have
Absolutely.
all the other frameworks working together to have everything right in your company. And usually, if you're right more often than you're wrong, you will make a lot of money. That's all businesses. Like,
Absolutely.
we are all experimenting every day in, day out in the business. We do not know what the next PPC strategy would be or what the next thing would be. What we do know is I have a framework, I know how to take a decision, and no matter what the new tool, technology, video ads, image ads, AI ads come up, I know how to sift through that to take a decision. So
Absolutely.
building
It's
your
an incredible
framework and system was your breakthrough. And what happened after
exactly.
that? How did it reflect in your revenue and profits?
Well, everything started, flipping from the negative side to the positive side. We started seeing profits, ad spend went down. We started selling more because we understood what drives growth, what drives spend.
Yep,
If you understand what drives everything in the business, like you're running this machine, if you understand how it's built,
yep,
you can change it, you can customize it, you can make it work for you, So that was the biggest I think that was the biggest change. And I was gonna tell you, like, there's this incredible phrase from, I think it's Mark Cuban, and he says, like, you only gotta be right once. And I think that's spot on, because when you're testing a lot of things, you only gotta be right once. You can put it into the framework and you're building upon it, and then you never gotta
worry
touch it
about it.
again, and you keep building. So
Yes,
I think that's really good. And also, there was something I read a book, by the way, which is called Beyond Entrepreneurship by Jim Collins. Pretty. I think you have it right there in your big library. But basically, the thing that stuck with me was never give up on the company, right? Just give up on the idea, on
yes,
one idea. That you can give up on the ideas that you have and create new ones, but never give up on the company. Otherwise, a lot of companies would have gone broke because they had bad products, bad ideas, etc. Right? And you gotta be right once, right? So if you put that together, you understand. Okay, so I don't have a bad idea. Maybe I have a bad product. I can find a way to cut it out and start again with a better product.
yeah.
This time I'm not starting from scratch. So that started to kick in. That was the pivot that right there.
And this is again, you're validating a thing that we see in typically smaller sellers who are close to 1 million or under 1 million. They are so much in love with the idea of a product or something. And I always ask them one question: hey, what matters more to you? Does it matter that you are right, or does it matter that you are rich? You can select
Yes,
one, right?
absolutely.
And in business, it is important that you're making money, because if you're not, then the business will shut down and it doesn't matter. Like, it is hard firing people. It is hard, destroying inventory that you were once fascinated by, that this thing will become successful. But hey, if you're unable to move it, if you are unable to sell it, there is no demand for it. You need to liquidate it and move on so that you can find the next best seller, or you can find the next product that you can, build consistent revenue out of. So,
Exactly.
so what does your current day to day looks like in the business? Like, how has your role transformed from, someone who was bulking up by moving the boxes and shipping them to a UPS or through freight to Amazon, to now taking a back seat and understanding and thinking more of strategy and vision? So how has your role evolved over the years?
Well, my back certainly thanks me for it. But everything changed. It was very dynamic, the other business. I was driving everywhere, just visiting a lot of people, dealing with a lot of you know customers and a lot of people, right? And when I started this business at the very beginning, it was a little bit lonely. Then you start getting into masterminds and you start working with other people, and then people start looking up to you, and you find a way to actually manage everything from one place. And the most important thing is the anxiety of surviving went away, and the excitement to grow started to kick in,
Yeah.
right? That's what changed. And then when I wake up, I'm pretty much excited to get going. I have like a lot of energy just to get going and keep growing and keep getting at it, and figuring out every single trouble or problem that arises every day. There's a problem. Everybody that's an entrepreneur needs to get used to this. Things are going to break every single day.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that is the only predictable thing. I now have a calendar block for fixing fires or fixing issues. You need it. Like, this thing will happen. If it doesn't happen, great, you got extra time for yourself. But
Right.
more often than not, it will happen that something is broken. And no matter how good frameworks you have or how great processes you have, things change. It is a dynamic market, right? It's like living with a toddler and believing that the toddler will never fall. They will fall. They're learning how to walk. So are you as
Exactly.
an entrepreneur. Yeah, we are like business toddlers, so if I may use that term.
I love that term. Yeah. And the great thing about this was that it allowed me to, work from anywhere in the world. But this is such a stereotype. I mean that you can work anywhere in the world, but you need to be able to focus. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So if you're going to try this, you better be able to focus anywhere you are. Even at the beach, you need to be able to focus for a couple of hours, you know? And even if you're at the beach resting, you got to be able to think about the business. You're going to get ideas. So you're always kind of in the business, right? And once you hit a certain threshold of success, you need to make sure that the business doesn't absorb your life. That you got to have a balance, right? So
Yeah.
you got to be focused and you need to work hard, but you can't let it absorb your life, because otherwise, you're losing more important stuff
Yes.
than just money right there.
Yes. So true. So true. And are we so during this transformation of, moving from a business where you're investing 60,000 and pulling out 20,000 in the first year to that business now sustaining a digital nomad lifestyle, how many years did it take? And are there any specific software tools, you know, questions that you ask yourself every day that kind of helped you that time from, many years to a shorter span? So, how many years does it take you to become profitable? Was it 2 years, 3 years?
So the first year we were profitable. What I mean by 20,000 is we had 20,000 in profit.
Okay.
So that was good to know, but it was a little bit low considering the sale. On the second year, that's when everything started to kick in. We had enough experience. We knew what we were doing. And by that time, it was around when ChatGPT came out,
Okay.
you know. It was a couple of years ago, maybe, right? 2 to 3
2018, yeah,
years.
2019.
Exactly. So when I think it was a little bit later for me. I think I saw it in
Yeah.
2022.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like being in the valley,
I
I assume
mean,
everything is. Yeah, so I was involved in some other parts. But yeah, for the common public, it was there in 2021, 2022 timeframe. Yes.
actually. Yeah, so around that time, things started to really kick in. And, AI is the biggest lever. It's so hyped right now. I hate the hype. I hate everything that's hyped, you know? It's just me.
That,
But
that's what I. That's how I became financially independent, right? So there is a hype cycle. We have a literal term and a budget for it in the valley because you cannot sell technology without hype. It has
exactly.
to be
Yeah.
hyped up.
I totally get it. And when I started leveraging the power of AI, ChatGPT was very basic back then, but we started using a couple of tools and it just started making some of the tasks way easier. So we could cut the time in half of what we were doing, cut the spend in half because it would also save us, instead of paying somebody to do the copy for us,
Yeah.
we could do it on ChatGPT. And that started helping a lot. I don't want to talk about any particular software. I think the biggest tool for anyone today to actually grow and leverage, growth is, for me personally, this is a strategy, right? It's not a tool. I have paid subscriptions for Grok, for Claude, for ChatGPT, Perplexity, all of them, right? And the way I do this is when I get an idea, right? I will write it down and then I will create a personality or an agent in each and every single one of those models.
Yep.
And I will make them disagree, not disagree, but have different opinions.
Like a healthy debate among them.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I'm
Yep.
trying to kick in right there, right? So if I have an idea or if I have a problem, I will write it down and then consult it
Yep.
which with each and every single one of them. And that will give me a very broad perspective of things that I didn't even think of,
Yep.
right? And then I will plug them out down all together. And then I will start, bouncing back ideas. And this way, you only have a certain IQ naturally, right?
Yes.
As a human. But
Yes.
these things have unlimited knowledge, unlimited power. You can raise your IQ
Oh,
by 20 or 30 points, right?
we are talking not just points, we are talking a whole new here. So when I first started building AI systems in 2012, we were building it for billionaires, billionaire hedge funds managing, I don't know, billions and billions of dollars of trade every day. And we needed like something that can do it in a robotic way without emotions. What you just explained, Javi, is how you can build a team of digital employees who are doing work for you, and they can do your work better than you can imagine because they have access to deep knowledge from different areas. Now, a lot of these models started off as let's predict, but in the past 1 year, everyone is moving away from prediction to reasoning. And the reason why everyone is trying to predict is like how we started building, how everyone started building it, the AI thing, right? It was built for stock markets. So it was designed to predict something. What will happen next? That's how the biases were when AI was, in its infancy a decade ago. And it is only now when we are reasoning and putting in reason to the model. So in the next couple of quarters, I won't even use the term years, we will see a very different way in which AI will engage with you. Like just this morning, OpenAI released this whole thing of global memory. So now, not only like I had this ick that I talked to ChatGPT so many times, and why do I have to create a project to store the memory there, and it only talks to that, and it forgets what my name is, or my company name is, or my client name is from other conversation. That is now no longer a problem, right?
Yep.
And this thing happened this morning. So this is the speed at which we are, moving up. And I don't know about you, but one advice that I will give to everyone who is trying to work with these AI LLM models is instead of typing, talk to them. Like there are so many free, I think ChatGPT you can natively talk to it. I think so does Perplexity, but there are so many free plugins on Chrome browser that you can do, which will like literally transcribe what you're saying into text and give it as a command to AI. I will sometimes literally blabber stuff like I will just talk to my computer like a human, express myself, share my problems, and then I have a custom GPT built where I just feed it and it will tell me, okay, these are your problems. These are the different perspectives of solving it. And, you know, you, you have your own fractional CXO organization for like $20 a month. Like, that's amazing. Like, you cannot have any better time to start business or to scale it than now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the craziest part is that, you know, it, the most important thing is every single person has a perception, right? And we talked about it before. But the person that really succeeds is the one that can put things in perspective, which is
Yes,
different from perception.
perception, true.
So you always want to try to reach perception, right? And that's trying to see more than you can actually see. It's like a chessboard.
Yep.
You can't always see the best move, but what if you had seven, AI agents looking at the board with you, right? You
And they're
get
looking at it in
perception.
a very non.
Exactly.
This morning, someone made a mistake on my team. And we spent $6,000 yesterday on one of my accounts on PPC to generate a revenue of $3,400. So something was wrong, right? And I have systems in place to alert me within 24 hours of such things happening. I literally went to my chat GPT and asked, hey, here is your bulk file for yesterday. Tell me what went wrong, what happened. Here is the bulk file for last 30 days. I gave two bulk files for it to analyze, and at the end of it, it was you launched a bunch of campaigns in the last 2 weeks, and you did not put in the right thresholds. So there is a threshold in our, like in my system, in my framework, there is a threshold of you can only launch so many new keywords because we put in a $500 budget per keyword when we are launching, ranking campaigns. And the employee by mistake was overzealous, and instead of launching a handful of keywords, he launched like a few dozen of those. And we are basically seeing, 20 clicks, no sales, or 15 clicks, no sales, or 10 clicks, no sales kind of scenario before any of those triggers will kick in and start, pausing campaigns or modifying budgets. It's still in the testing phase. So somebody made a small mistake somewhere in doing their operations when launching new stuff, which resulted in us burning thousands of dollars in like a couple of hours. So these small things you will learn, and it would have taken me a lot of time versus me working with an AI. And in less than 45 minutes, we had not only solved the problem, identified the root cause, I recorded an SOP using the same software that we are using right now. And from its transcription, I created an SOP out of it. So, a written SOP, a video tutorial, a whole reasoning logic, a whole new process built out end to end, I would say 50, 55 minutes, which is amazing. Like, such things would have taken us, I don't know, 2 days to figure out what went wrong and then taking action. We would just pause everything and lose sales versus, fixing things and fixing them for good without the whole AI movement. So, anyone who is not using it, I would say before you pay, that $40 for Amazon seller fees, please pay $20 to ChatGPT before you make that investment.
Exactly.
So,
Absolutely agree with that.
any last words, thoughts that you would want to share with our audience? Anything that you feel is a good course or a community or a mastermind that someone who is doing maybe 30,000 a month on Amazon and feeling stuck can use to pivot out of that moment and get into the six-figure club for per month or the seven-figure club on an annual revenue basis.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing you guys need to look for is getting to a mastermind or a community, and surround yourself with people that are already doing what you want to do, because that not only forces you to step up your game,
Yep.
but it also naturally comes to you, like people that are doing way better than you, or seeing that they're doing those numbers makes you believe that it's possible. If you believe that it's possible, you do it, right? So I would say probably one of the communities is the inner circle. I'm not an affiliate or whatsoever,
Yeah.
but it's a really community where you can meet a lot of people, like-minded people that will help you out. They're very friendly and there's a lot of great people. That's where Mayur and me met.
It's pretty affordable too. Like Brandon has kept it very affordable for this kind of seller who is not doing millions in revenue, right?
Exactly. I would say that the Titan network is another one that has a lot of tools, has a lot of built-in frameworks. If you're lost and you think yet you cannot build a framework, start with someone else's and then perfect it and
Yeah,
start building your own. So they have a lot of systems built in. So I would recommend that one too. And just talk in the groups, try to help others, try to share your knowledge, and good things and good people will gravitate towards you.
it's true.
Right? That's the best advice I can give somebody.
It's the good karma, right? I have a karma book over here. Like you do good things will start happening to you. Javi, thank you so much for coming on this show and sharing your journey with us. I'm sure we will have a lot more podcasts with you in the future where we'll talk different aspects and get more into the details. But thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your experience with our audience.
Thank you for inviting me, brother. This was awesome, and I hope we can, help as many people as possible.
Let's do that. Thank you.
Take care.